Now, if you think a career in public relations is crazy, try doing it in the film capital of the world. They're all crazy there. Hollywood private eye Cody standing by with a former publicist who is now sharing his stories in a new memoir. This is going to be good.
I'm telling you, Dan Harary's joining us right now, talking about his new book. Dan, so I said earlier on the show, if I saw you at a dinner party, you're the guy I want to slide up next to, because you got all the stories, my friend.
I've lived quite an interesting life, Cody. You know, I've been a Hollywood publicist for 40 years, and I've met so many major stars at red carpets and black tie events and screenings and parties and premieres. It's been interesting. You know, I just kind of stumbled into publicity along the way. I came to LA 1980. I was 24, and I wanted to be a sitcom writer. And that was my goal for years, but it just never happened. And I just stumbled and bumbled into PR along the way.
In going through the stories in the book, I love the way you put it together, because it's almost like you think of any famous person in Hollywood and you have met them, really, and you've got a story with them. Is there anything like that you could share with us that is one of your favorites of running into somebody or working with somebody that you can tell on local television?
Well, sure. I mean, my whole life, I just turned 66, but for the last 50 years, really, from the age of 15, I've been working near or meeting celebrities just by happenstance. You know, I worked with Bruce Springsteen. I was 15 years old, 1973. I worked with him at a rock concert hall when I was in high school. I met Jerry Seinfeld 1981, 10 years before he was famous. I met him at a car wash.
Really?
I just kept bumping into these people. You know, I met Arnold Schwarzenegger. I asked him for an autograph for my son, and he growled and snarled at me. I met Meryl Streep at a photo shoot, and I was so nervous, Cody. I called Meryl Streep the wrong name. I'm shaking her hand, and I called her by a different person's name. I was so nervous with Meryl Streep. It's just, you know, I have these funny stories. I almost met Woody Allen when I was back in New Jersey. Kevin Costner's a great guy. Kirk Douglas, I worked with. Anne Margaret. I told Anne Margaret when I met her, I've been waiting 50 years to meet you, and she goes, "Oh, you're so sweet." So I've just been bubbling and stumbling my way. Really, there was no plan, man. It just kind of happened, you know.
It is truly amazing. Like, seriously, like going through this, it's like an encyclopedia of Hollywood. You and I have something very in common. There's one story about you meeting Cody Sackhoff from Battlestar Galactica, and you kind of slid up and flirted with her. You and I are on the same page, my friend.
Oh, man, she was so pretty. Well, you know, this is so funny, Cody. I had a client called the Robot Man, of all things. He's Hollywood's robot guy. If you need a robot for a movie or a TV show, he builds robots. So there was a premiere of Battlestar Galactica in Hollywood at a red carpet, and my guy had robot there from that show. So the robot was, I'm on the red carpet, Cody, with a robot, not even with a person, or with a robot. And as I'm with the robot, Cody Sackhoff came up and started to pose with it for photos. All the photographers were going crazy, of course. And I said, "Katie, how are you? You're so nice. You're one of my favorite people." As we're talking, Tricia Helfer walks by from that show. Yes. And if you know who she is so remarkably gorgeous. I mean, so stunningly beautiful. I actually went, I gasped. And Katie looked at me like, what does she have that I don't have? You know, so, Katie was a very sweet girl. I liked her very much.
Fantastic. Do you have more stories for a second book? You do, don't you?
What a great question. Well, there's a few minor little things I left out. Like just the other day, I remembered I met Jack LaLanne. And I met Angeline. You know Angeline? There's a miniseries about her. Now, I met Jack LaLanne. I met Angeline. I met a few. I spent a day with Carl Weathers from Rocky 2 and Rocky 3. I spent a day with him. There's a few that I left out after I delivered the book. I just met Billy Zane a few days ago. He's from Titanic. It turns out he and I have mutual friends. So, but, you know, honestly, Cody, you know, my highlights, you know, Jerry Seinfeld, Springsteen, Meryl Streep, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mel Brooks. I met Mel Brooks at a stage premiere of a play I was working on, and my mother happened to be in town. So, Cody, I introduced my mother to Mel Brooks And it turns out they both went to the same high school.
No,
no way.
By circumstances, my mother and Mel Brooks were talking for 15 minutes. I felt like, hey, what about me? You know, they were like long lost friends. They went to the same high school in Brooklyn.
Well,
So,
I got to tell you, man, I really enjoyed reading this. And where can people get a hold of it? Amazon's
really the way to go. Flirting with Fame by Dan Harary, rhymes with Ferrari, Harary. On Amazon, there's two versions, Cody. There's a version with black and white photos. There's a version with color photos. You probably have the version with the black and white photos.
Yeah, you can send me the black and white photos. If you can give me color photos, I would like that.
Okay, cool. I'll send you one. Yeah, sure. I will. I will absolutely will.
It's a pleasure meeting you, sir. And seriously, I really enjoyed the stories. You're a great storyteller.
Thank you. Thank you very much, man. It means so much to me that you read it and that you had me on it. I'm very grateful. I've been a publicist 40 years. And this is the first time in my life that I've been publicizing myself. So it's a whole new animal for me. This is to be on this side of the curtain is a whole new experience.
I was gonna ask you that, quite honestly, if it's weird being the interviewee instead of pushing people to be interviewed.
Yeah. It's a novel experience. I've arranged hundreds, if not thousands, of interviews. You know, I worked with two astronauts who walked on the moon. I worked with Al Gore. You know, and now I'm publicizing little old me, and it's people like you that enjoy my stories. And, you know, I didn't realize I had so many stories till I wrote the book. I just kept going and going. I wrote it last year. I was looking at age 65, my birthday, and I realized I had 50 years of celebrity stories. So I wrote them all down on a piece of paper, and it just kept going.
It is fantastic. Thanks again, Dan. It's so good to talk to you, my friend.
All right, brother. Thanks, man.
Back to you, John.